Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news tonight on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi urges stakeholders in Myanmar to find a quick solution to the Rohingya crisis, says India understands Myanmar's problems in a joint statement with State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi. Last rites of senior Kannada journalist and activist Gauri Lankesh held in Bengaluru. Journalists across the country condemned the killing of the 55-year-old senior journalist who was shot by motorcycle-borne assailants. Protests held in major cities across the United States against President Donald Trump's decision to revoke protection to undocumented immigrants. Over 7,000 Indians affected by the decision. And global outrage intensifies over North Korea's latest nuclear test. US calls for tougher sanctions and says the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula is now its top priority. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Myanmar's State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi in Naypyidaw on Wednesday. The two leaders discussed ways to further strengthen bilateral relations between India and Myanmar. They also vowed to combat terror and boost security cooperation. Prime Minister Modi also addressed the situation in Myanmar's Rakhine, where a crackdown on Rohingya Muslims has sparked an enormous refugee crisis, drawing huge international condemnation for Nobel laureate Suu Kyi.
On his first bilateral visit to Myanmar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged all stakeholders to find a quick solution to the humanitarian crisis sparked by the Rohingya exodus. In a joint statement with State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, Modi said India understands Myanmar's problems.
जिन चुनौतियों को आप मुकाबला कर रही हैं, हम उन्हें पूरी तरह समझते हैं। रखाइन स्टेट में चरमपंथी हिंसा के चलते खासकर सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस और मासूम जीवन की हानि को लेकर आपकी चिंताओं के हम भागीदार हैं। चाहे वह बड़ी शांति प्रक्रिया हो या किसी विशेष मुद्दे को सुलझाने की बात, हम आशा करते हैं कि सभी स्टेक होल्डर्स मिलकर ऐसा हल निकालने की दिशा में काम कर सकते हैं जिससे म्यांमार की एकता और भौगोलिक अखंडता का सम्मान करते हुए सभी के लिए शांति, न्याय, सम्मान और लोकतांत्रिक मूल्य सुनिश्चित होंगे।
The Prime Minister said that deepening the relationship with Myanmar is a priority for India. He also emphasized scaling up the security cooperation between the two countries. Suu Kyi thanked Prime Minister Modi for taking a strong stand on the terror threat faced by Myanmar recently.
We would like to thank India particularly for the strong stand that it has taken with regard to the terrorist threat that came to our country a couple of weeks ago. And we believe that together we can work to make sure that terrorism is not allowed to take root on our soil or on the soil of our neighboring countries.
India and Myanmar signed 11 agreements in areas like maritime security, strengthening democratic institutions, health and information technology. Modi also announced that India will grant gratis visa to visiting Myanmari citizens, along with the release of 40 Myanmari citizens currently lodged in Indian jails. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi justified demonetization as he addressed the Indian diaspora in Yangon, saying his government was not afraid of taking big and tough decisions in the interest of the country. He also said that his government could take such decisions because it considers the country bigger than politics. He also talked about the surgical strikes in POK last year and the GST as the other big and tough decisions taken by his 3-year-old government. Referring to the noteman, the Prime Minister said that the step was taken to curb black money and that it had helped identify lakhs of people who had crores of rupees in bank accounts but never paid income tax.
इस सरकार ने देश के हित में हर फैसला बिना किसी डर या संकोच से लिया है। जब अर्थव्यवस्था और उसको काले धन और भ्रष्टाचार से मुक्ति दिलाने के लिए कड़ा फैसला लेने की आवश्यकता हुई तो 1000 और 500 रुपये के नोट बंद करने का फैसला भी हम ले पाए। मुट्ठी भर कुछ लोगों के भ्रष्टाचार की कीमत अब देश के 125 करोड़ लोग उठा रहे थे, ये हमें मंजूर नहीं है।
Moving on to some other news now, the cold-blooded murder of a senior journalist and activist Gauri Lankesh in Bengaluru has left many shocked. Journalists and politicians across the country condemned her murder. Home Minister Rajnath Singh has sought a report from the Karnataka government seeking details about the murder. Meanwhile, the last rites of Lankesh were held at Chamarajpet Cemetery in Bengaluru. The murder of senior journalist Gauri Lankesh sparked protests in many cities. The editor of Kannada Weekly, Gauri Lankesh Patrike, was shot dead by unidentified assailants outside her residence in Bengaluru on Tuesday night. Police believe that at least 3 suspects were involved. Friends and well-wishers paid their last respects to the journalist, whose family expressed confidence that the culprits will be traced.
To us, that there is threats, this is some rumors. There was no threats to her. Of course, she was a firebrand journalist. She was an aggressive journalist. The CCTV has captured completely of what has happened, and the investigation has to take place. And I'm requesting the police that in front of me or my mother, they have to open the CCTV.
The Home Ministry also sought a report from the Karnataka government on the killing. State Chief Minister Siddaramaiah announced a special investigation team to probe the killing.
You please constitute a SIT, Special Investigation Team, headed by a senior officer, IG level officer, and also other officers whomsoever he wants, and that is going to be constituted immediately, and they will take up the investigation very seriously.
Politicians expressed shock and anger at the cold-blooded murder. Congress President Sonia Gandhi condemned the murder, while the left parties demanded that the state government should soon identify and arrest the culprits. Union Minister Nitin Gadkari dismissed Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi's allegations on the issue.
ये बेबुनियाद और झूठा आरोप है। हमारा गौरी लंकेश के इस घटना के साथ भारतीय जनता पार्टी का, भारत सरकार का, हमारे किसी संगठन का कोई संबंध नहीं है। हम इसका निषेध करते हैं और मैं ये मानता हूं कि कर्नाटक में कानून व्यवस्था मेंटेन करने की जिम्मेदारी कर्नाटक सरकार की है। कर्नाटक की सरकार कांग्रेस की है।
I spoke to the Chief Minister and I mentioned to him that it's very important that people who have done this are punished, are caught and punished.
यह अत्यंत घृणास्पद और निंदनीय कृत्य है, किसने भी किया हो, और उसको कड़ी से कड़ी सजा होनी चाहिए.
Strongly condemn this brutal, this cowardly murder, assassination, and the politics behind it, the environment and the atmosphere being created in this country.
Various media bodies, including the Delhi Press Club, organized protests across the country. Protests were also held in Coimbatore, Chennai, Mumbai, Bhubaneswar, among other cities. The Editors Guild of India strongly condemned the murder of Lankesh and called for a judicial probe. The Broadcast Editors Association wanted the government to act promptly in identifying the culprits.
A very sad day for Indian democracy as well as for the freedom of press. A journalist, and particularly women journalists, who took all the trouble to expose whatever the wrongdoings was happening in the country, and she would be shot dead like that. That we cannot, as a journalist, we cannot accept that.
While I express my solidarity with journalist fraternity, as a citizen, I appeal through you, the people of India, all secular democratic forces, to stand up and challenge this threat coming from fascist forces.
55-year-old Gauri Lankesh was the daughter of famous poet-turned-journalist P. Lankesh. She wrote in support of rehabilitating Naxalites while voicing opposition against divisive politics. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the National Investigation Agency today conducted searches at 16 locations in Kashmir and Delhi. The raids were conducted on alleged Hawala operators who were funding terror. The raids come a day after NIA arrested 2 people, including a freelance photojournalist, for stone pelting. These raids are part of NIA investigation in a case filed on May 30th, in which Chief of Terror Group Jamaat-ud-Dawa Hafiz Saeed was named as an accused. Earlier, the NIA arrested 7 separatist leaders in connection with its probe into terror funding from Pakistan. Well, moving on, now Indian roads account for the highest fatalities in the world. Last year, India saw as many as 17 deaths and 55 road accidents every hour. While drivers' fault was the single most important factor responsible for the accidents, two-wheeler riders were the most vulnerable road users.
Over 4,80,000 accidents this year, killed nearly 1,51,000 people and injured over 4.9 lakh people.
उस डिस्ट्रिक्ट का जो सीनियर एमपी होगा उसके अध्यक्षता में एक रोड सुरक्षा समिति बनेगी। कलेक्टर जो है उसके सचिव रहेंगे कमेटी के, और उसके साथ एमएलए भी रहेंगे, अधिकारी भी कंसर्निंग रहेंगे, पुलिस के, आरटीओ के, और उस जिले में जितने एक्सीडेंट्स हुए किसी भी रोड पर वहाँ विजिट भी करेंगे। कुछ अगर उनको लगता है कि रोड इंजीनियर वो भी बताएंगे।
In its annual report on road accidents in India, the government said that compared to 2015, accidents in 2016 were lower by 4.1%, but the number of people who were killed went up by 3.2%. 10,135 riders killed in accidents were not wearing helmets and 5,638 didn't fasten seat belts. National highways constitute only 2% of India's road network, but accounted for more than 30% of the road accidents. Tamil Nadu topped the list of 13 states that accounted for as many as 86% road accidents in 2016.
रोड इंजीनियरिंग, ऑटोमोबाइल इंजीनियरिंग, पब्लिक कैंपेन, बाद में अब रोड सेफ्टी का बिल पास होने के बाद मैं ये जो प्रयास हुआ है हमारे, इसकी स्पीड 3 गुना 4 गुना बढ़ा पाऊंगा।
The Motor Vehicles Amendment Bill 2017 is expected to go a long way in ensuring road safety. The Rajya Sabha has referred it to a select committee with instructions to present a report by the first day of the next session. The bill proposes heavy fines for overspeeding, not wearing seat belts, making Aadhaar mandatory for registration and regulating cab aggregators. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
On Wednesday, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu met the 2 newly appointed Ministers of State, Satyapal Singh for HRD and Giriraj Singh for micro, small and medium enterprises in the national capital. This was the first meet with Vice President Venkaiah Naidu after the recent cabinet reshuffle. Let's now get your roundup of some other news from across the country and nationwide. The Supreme Court directed all state governments to appoint a senior police officer as nodal officer in each district to prevent incidents of cow vigilantism. A bench headed by Chief Justice Deepak Mishra directed chief secretaries to file status reports giving details of action taken to prevent them. The Delhi High Court today directed the CBI to take steps to trace JNU student Najib Ahmed, who is missing since October last year. The High Court gave its direction after examining the status report filed by the CBI. The agency gave details of the steps it has taken to trace the student while seeking more time to reach a conclusion. The CBI says it questioned 26 people, including JNU officials, staff and Najib's friends. The Lucknow metro service was affected by a technical snag on the first day of its commercial run. At least 100 passengers were stuck inside for more than an hour. The lights and air conditioning stopped functioning when the train was on its way from Charbagh to Transport Nagar. All passengers were rescued through the emergency exit. Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What the BRICS declaration has been. For the first time, The terror outfits JEM and LET have been named. Is it some kind of a very symbolic victory for India?
Incidentally, terrorism has become one of the biggest impediments of economic growth.
Do we read this as some kind of a shifting stand of China? Has it really changed its position?
China has taken into consideration the ground realities.
Incidentally, there was no statement from Prime Minister Modi on the mention of Pakistan at the plenary session.
In diplomacy, it is always good to speak less and make the other party realize the importance of what we had said earlier.
Watch To The Point with foreign policy analyst Shashadri Chari only on Rajya Sabha television.
You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj on Wednesday told her Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov that the rock-solid friendship between the two countries cannot be weakened by anyone. Swaraj met Lavrov on the sidelines of the Eastern Economic Forum underway in Vladivostok. Earlier in the day, Swaraj attended the India-Russia business dialogue at the forum. She said India was keen to expand its economic ties with Russia's resource-rich Far East and sought the Russian government's assistance in facilitating Indian investors in the region. Meanwhile, India and Japan have resolved to further strengthen military cooperation. The two countries held wide-ranging talks on bilateral defense and security ties. A range of bilateral and regional issues relating to security and defense were discussed during talks between Defense Minister Arun Jaitley and his Japanese counterpart. Jaitley also called on Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and discussed ways to deepening defense and security cooperation. The annual Indo-Japan Ministerial Defense Dialogue took place at a time when tension was mounting in the region due to North Korea's nuclear pursuits and China's growing assertiveness in the South China Sea.
I think both with regard to terrorism and also proliferation of nuclear technologies and missiles in this region is a matter of mutual concern to both Japan and India.
北朝鮮の膨張を食い止めることができるかどうかは国際社会が連携していくことにかかっています。今後インドと協力をしながら緊密に連携しながらですね、北朝鮮の政策を開催していきたいと思います。
Well, moving on to our top international focus now, US President Donald Trump has announced termination of the Dreamers program that protected undocumented immigrants living in America. Trump justified the policy shift by describing the previous one as a constitutional misstep on the part of the Obama administration.
Widespread protests in major cities across the United States against President Donald Trump's latest decision to revoke the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals or DACA program that protected nearly 8 lakh young undocumented immigrants brought to the US as children from deportation. Protesters also marched to the White House holding an effigy of Trump and shouted slogans against his administration.
Trump didn't feel like he had the guts to tell it to our faces. He sent Jeff Sessions to do that, right? He put a ticking bomb on us and saying, 6 months you need to figure it out, and you need to help people to figure it out. Because guess what? This is no longer my issue. So we're going to fight, because what he did is coward.
This is our country! We make it great, and together we move forward! Better, stronger!
Asian American community, we need to stand up and we need to say, especially those of us with papers, to say we stand with you, we have your back. We know that right now is a time of attack on immigrants, but we will rise.
My family immigrated here 4 generations ago, so a lot of these concerns and fears might not touch me immediately, but they affect everything in our community and what America is.
Tech giants including Apple, Microsoft, Google and Facebook too pledged to stand by their employees. Apple CEO Tim Cook condemned the administration's decision and pledged to support the employees affected by the change. The Trump administration had on Tuesday announced the end of the DACA that granted work permits to immigrants who arrived in the country illegally as children. Defending his decision, the US president had said that the move was in the country's best interest as American workers must come first.
To have a lawful system of immigration that serves the national interest, we cannot admit everyone who would like to come here. It's just that simple. That would be an open borders policy, and the American people have rightly rejected that. Therefore, the nation must set and enforce a limit on how many immigrants we admit each year, and that means all cannot be accepted.
However, Democratic leaders slammed the decision and called on majority Republicans in the Congress to join them in moving to safeguard DACA recipients. Former U.S. President Barack Obama, who started the program in 2012, also termed the decision as politically motivated and cruel.
We are now in a countdown toward deportation for 780,000 protected by DACA today. For those young men and women across America, I can tell you this is a moment of great concern, great fear, and great anxiety about what's going to happen to their lives.
Initiating the orderly phase-out of the program in the next 6 months, the U.S. administration has said that those already covered by it would not be affected before March next year. Those already enrolled in DACA remain covered until their permits expire, but the program will not accept any new applications. The decision is also likely to impact more than 7,000 Indian Americans. According to the latest data collected by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, India is ranked 11 among countries of origin for DACA students. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, as international uproar over North Korea's latest nuclear test intensifies, world leaders are now looking for the best way to tackle the crisis. While the US continues to push for tough sanctions, Russia has said dialogue is the only way forward.
International uproar over North Korea's latest and biggest nuclear test yet intensified on Wednesday, a day after one of its top diplomats warned that his country was ready to send more gift packages to the United States.
The recent self-defensive measures by my country, DPRK, are a gift package addressed to none other than the U.S. The U.S. will receive more gift packages from my country as long as it relies on reckless provocations and futile attempts to put pressure on the DPRK.
Underscoring the push for tougher sanctions, the U.S. said that denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula has become its top priority. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley said that more sanctions on North Korea may not change the country's behavior, but would cut off funding for its ballistic missile and nuclear programs.
Certainly the priority of the administration is to have denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, and it's also to protect American citizens. But certainly the priority would be that. Now is not the time for us to spend a lot of time focused on talking with Korea, but putting all measures of pressure that we can, and we're going to continue through that process. We've also said that everybody, including Russia, including China, need to do more to address the threat. This is a global threat.
Meanwhile, South Korean President Moon Jae-in told his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin that the situation on the Korean Peninsula could become unpredictable if Pyongyang did not halt its provocative actions after its latest nuclear bomb test. Putin and Moon met on the sidelines of an economic summit in the Russian city of Vladivostok.
이 지역이 당면한 가장 시급하고 중대한 도전인 북한 핵미사일 문제를 조속히 해결하는 것이 무엇보다 중요하다는 데 의견을 같이 하였습니다. 저와 푸틴 대통령은 북한이 추구하는 핵미사일 개발은 잘못된 길이며 한반도에서 긴장을 완화하는 것이 시급한 과제라는 데 인식을 같이 하였습니다.
В то же время понятно, что решить проблемы Корейского полуострова одними лишь санкциями и давлением невозможно. Не стоит поддаваться эмоциям и загонять Северную Корею в угол. Сейчас, как никогда, всем необходимо проявить хладнокровие и избегать шагов, ведущих к эскалации напряженности.
Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe also warned North Korea that its actions will not lead it anywhere and that it should change its policies. Abe also expressed willingness to discuss the situation with Russia and South Korea separately during the Vladivostok summit. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, here's a roundup now of the other international news and global buzz. The European Court of Justice dismissed complaints by Slovakia and Hungary against a quota scheme that directs member states to admit thousands of asylum seekers. In the latest twist to a dispute that broke out in 2015, the top court found that the EU was entitled to order national governments to take in quotas of mainly Syrian refugees relocated from Italy and Greece. The most powerful hurricane to hit the Atlantic Ocean, Irma, made its first landfall in northeast Caribbean's Barbuda Islands with winds up to 295 kilometers per hour and heavy rain. The storm has damaged several houses and buildings. However, there is no report of any casualties so far. Over 400 local residents from Portland in Oregon were evacuated on Tuesday as wildfire continued to ravage the Columbia River Gorge area. The so-called Eagle Creek fire burned close to 10,000 acres since it broke out on Saturday. Well, that's it on this newscast. Good night.